Hey, Janice.
Hello, Anthony.
We're going to bring this to a conclusion. This is the final part three of talking with Janice about her business. And today's final part is a day in the life of a virtual paralegal or virtual assistant. So yeah, we're going to keep this one pretty loose. I have a few questions I want to cover, but then otherwise I want to just hear about or let Janice share with you, her typical day. So you have a sort of a fly on the wall sort of perspective as to what this really feels like or looks like to have this kind of job or career. But the questions I do want to cover are, what exactly does a virtual paralegal do from a high level versus what does a virtual assistant do? Because I know, Janice, you do both from a high level. And then what do those job descriptions look like? Because people often kind of think about the job description as a way of understanding what a job is like. But then I'm going to make sure we have time, Janice, for you to really just kind of freeform walk us through, what your days are like.
Absolutely.
Okay, so first,
Could be really entertaining.
oh, interesting. So, but before we get started, can you briefly, remind the audience who you are and your background and about your business, please?
Absolutely. So I'm a PA, Pennsylvania-based paralegal. I own and operate virtual paralegal and administrative services. So what I do is I provide as needed administrative and paralegal services to small businesses and attorneys. Of course, I only provide anything legal related to attorneys, but I also do administration for small businesses.
Yeah, let's make sure we get into that. So,
Yeah.
I think we've actually covered what a virtual paralegal is, but just to let's quickly go over what is a paralegal and what kind of work that entails. Can you just kind of rattle off
Absolutely.
some of your tasks? Yeah.
Yeah, so paralegal, we assist attorneys. We do the substantive legal work under the direction of an attorney. I like to use the analogy of I'm like a nurse to a doctor, right? The paralegal to the attorney is like a nurse to a doctor. So we assist on cases and we draft documents. On the flip side of that is we do administration for, I say, small business and entrepreneurs.
But before we move on to that, let me just make clear
Yes.
for anyone who's not familiar. When you say doing substantive legal work, in New York at least, you are not allowed. Paralegals are not allowed to make court appearances,
Correct.
or to argue in court or to appear before a judge. But there's a lot of filings, and if you don't know these words, pleadings or court documents that need to be prepared, and paralegals will help the attorneys draft them and sort of give them to the attorney for a once over, instead of the attorney to sort of doing squeezing every possible billable
Right.
minute out of a case.
Right. We have to keep the cost down for the client.
Exactly.
Yes, but so if any of you have been divorced or you've had a document come that you've been sued or anything legal, somebody has to write that. So we get it started. We write as much substantive as we can, and then the attorney will jump in, finish the document, file it, go to court, and then take the reins from there. So we assist, I guess a good word is all the back end stuff, all the paperwork, the filings. And again, it's really important to distinguish that everything that I do legally is just under the direction of an attorney. I do have a lot of people, interestingly enough, that do contact me on a daily basis. Well, you're much cheaper than an attorney. Can you help me with my case? No, it does not work that way.
Yeah. So similarly, one area where you're invaluable to me is client communications, right?
Yes.
So not every client communication merits a direct interaction with an attorney who bills at a much higher rate. And in an attempt to help keep things efficient for our clients, if you're just looking for an update or did the court accept this filing or things like that, that is substantive. I mean,
Absolutely.
a receptionist
Yes.
wouldn't be able to sort out or understand the case and know what you're asking about even.
Correct.
But you don't necessarily need your attorney billing at $500, $600, $700 an hour to call you back and answer that question.
To call you back and say, yes, it was filed on this date and all is good.
And
right.
that cost you $100.
Correct. So no, we definitely come in. We really do, like you said, we keep the cost down for the clients, the attorneys, and we're really we're a backup. I mean, like you said, you get the phone calls, but we will return them and give them information.
Yes. So I think I'm just trying to paint that picture, in case people don't understand the difference between an attorney and paralegal, and what's the difference between paralegal work, which I hope we covered, versus administrative work, which, yes, I would love for you to explain now.
Yes. So administrative is a little different. When you own a business or you're an entrepreneur, Sometimes you need a little help, whether that's some social media marketing or forms. There's a lot of businesses that use forms on a daily basis, want them cleaned up, maybe have them automated. That's where you think, man, I really could use some help with just a few little things to help me get going. And that's where the second, I guess, 50% of the businesses is a glorified secretary for businesses, things that you can help with, take off their plate at a reasonable cost so they can continue doing the things that they want to do.
An example, I hope you don't mind me sharing, that we do is mail sorting and scanning.
Yes.
I think I'm in, as an attorney, I don't think I should be spending my time doing that.
Absolutely not. Nope. And that's where I come in.
And it's certainly not paralegal work, right? Because it's not, right? You don't need legal knowledge to do that, right?
Correct. But it's a service that otherwise you would look at and go, oh man, I got to scan this again. Or it's much easier to send everything in bulk and it just magically appears, right? That's what I like to say. We're like the figment of your imagination. We just kind of make it happen and surprise, it's just something you didn't have to do that we could take off your plate. Like website design, you have a lot of small businesses that aren't online. And you can't afford to pay, thousands and thousands of dollars for a new website. So we help them with that.
I think you also do social media management. Is that right?
Yes, I do. Yep. Some social media, designing posts and keeping people, it's kind of fun when you see a business that posts every day and you think, wow, they're really on top of it. A lot of people have people in the background like myself who are creating the posts and posting them.
Very good. So, okay. Some people can only imagine jobs if you give them a job description, because that's their sort of the filter that they're used to seeing the world in. Could you give a quick description of a paralegal, like if you were posting a job for a virtual paralegal, and then do one for a virtual assistant?
Absolutely. So when we use the word virtual, first of all, we are using it as in the capacity of they're not working in an actual brick and mortar building. So the paralegal, the American Bar Association calls them a person qualified by education or training, who works or employed by a lawyer who performs substantive legal work under the direction of an attorney. Virtually would be the virtual paralegal portion of it, meaning that we will provide this service not in a brick and mortar building, off-site from the attorney.
Do you usually break it down to, experience with matrimonial or real estate or things like that?
Yes. So when the paralegals that we have on the team and myself, we'll only take on the type of paralegal work that we know how to do. Yes. Yep. So whether that's like family law and estates and probate are kind of my thing. Then I have other ones that are in contract law. So we'll only take on what we know.
Very good. And then what are some of the categories of or types of jobs, kind of what are the words you would throw into a job description for a virtual assistant?
So virtual assistant would be secretarial work as far as letters and dictation, billing and invoices, doing...
Oh man, a lot of entrepreneurs just hate doing their invoices.
Everyone hates their invoices. I hate it, but it's a necessary evil. And think about that. If you could take your billing off of your plate every month, it takes you, 10 hours? Sometimes you sit down and you just keep billing and billing. But now we can take that over for you, probably do it in less time because we're going to set up a new system, to streamline it. Can you imagine just having your billing go out and money show up and you didn't have to do anything? It's genius.
That would be a good feeling.
Right? It is. It's a really good feeling. And then, of course, we don't mind doing it because we're getting paid to do it and it makes everybody happy. But we take those secretarial and those administrative things off of the plate of the entrepreneur so they can focus on their business.
And is that a separate job description than if you were doing something more marketing related, like helping with their website, their blog posts, their social media?
So I personally would put it on the same one. I mean, you can do like social media and marketing, but I look at it as a whole, as an administrative assistant. Like when you have a secretary, an administrative assistant, kind of like a catch-all, one-stop shopping. So I do tend to put that all in the same service category. Okay. But I do know that there are professionals that really focus on, social media marketing and website design, and they've gone to school for that, which is why I tend to put it inside of a service-based category.
Okay. So, okay, look, we've covered what
What it is.
like theoretically, what a virtual paralegal does, what a virtual assistant does, and what it might look like on a job description. So now I want to just kind of really, really open it up. And Janice, just kind of paint the mental picture. Walk us through your day or your week, so that if you're as much as you're willing to share, so that somebody listening who's interested or to become a virtual paralegal, or who might be interested in working with you, will get a sense of what they're getting into.
Absolutely. Oh boy. So where do you even begin? There are two parts to this. One is the fact of working from home, which we kind of touched on, and then there's the paralegal work itself, right? So paralegal work itself, especially when you're working for so many different attorneys, so many different types of attorneys, I would say. So we're trying to also explain to people that would like to get into this, you have to be very understanding and you have to be very patient. Because when you have, let's say, 10, 15, 20, 30 attorneys, everybody does things differently and everyone does things on their own schedule, right? So the day in the life of Janice is quite interesting because it's never the same ever, ever. I've tried, you wake up in the morning and you look at all the emails that have come through overnight from the attorneys who don't sleep, which is a lot, and you prioritize and you go. And you, like I say, it's like a race. So you could get to the end and everyone has an emergency. Everyone has a timeline. Everyone had something due yesterday. So it's actually a little more, it's not very laid back. It's definitely a little more higher, with the adrenaline, right? You got to keep going. You got to keep going. And as you're going, things just keep coming in. So that's more like that's the paralegal work. Everything's different. People handle things different. Just like when you're working in an office, sometimes you deal with really fabulous bosses and sometimes not so fabulous bosses, right? It's the same. You have to learn to expect that, and you have to be fluid.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
You have to be able to change. Yes.
Have you ever fired an attorney? Meaning,
Yes.
decided to stop working with somebody?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes. So originally, when I first started this out, I would take on anyone and everyone that asked for help because you start a business, you don't say no, right? And then after a while, I learned that you know what, you have to have a good fit, right? You have to mesh with someone. You have to make sure that it works. I have hired and fired an attorney in a matter of 48 hours.
Well, if it's that quick, that's kind of on you that you didn't suss it out quickly.
You know what? The red flags were there on the phone call, but I was really thinking I can help. I think I can save the world, right? Is that a good mentality? So I think, I can do this. I can help. I don't think this attorney's really as mean as I'm thinking that they are on the initial phone call where they don't even know my name. But I'm going to try. And then I try. And I think for that particular one, I wanted to make a good impression. So I stay up, till 10 o'clock at night, finish things that have been on their plate for the past 6 months, and turn everything in. And I'm like thinking I'm the hero. And instead, I think the return email was, I didn't ask you to do that portion. I mean, it was so nasty that I just sat there and went, I don't think that our relationship is working that well.
Is it like did you approach that, or thinking about that, was it like a breakup? I mean, did you have to think about what you were going to say and how you were going to do it?
I did. I sat on it for a little while for the day, and I thought, wow, this is bringing me nothing but angst, and this isn't working. So I did. You have to leave with grace, right? So you still have to be nice. And I said, thank you for the opportunity to assist you for 24 hours. But we will be moving forward at this time. But I wish you well. Yes. So it does happen where you have to do that. Or similar to that is non-payment. You would be surprised. Non-payment, as much as you may like to work for someone, if they're not paying timely, you really have to consider the business relationship of it and might have to move on.
Let's bring it back to a typical day, if we can.
Yes, a typical day. So to set up the room, I do work from home, but I have my own dedicated office that I love. However, I do have kids, dog, cats, husband, and life. So a typical day, even though I am inside of an office, I want to write about this because I find this to be very interesting. When you think of people that work from home, maybe not now because the whole world seems to be doing it with this COVID, everyone thinks, oh, Janice is home. She's probably got the laundry done and dinner ready and breakfast for the next day. And she's, think of all the things you can do while you're working from home, right? Wrong. You wake up, and since there's not a very long commute, I usually get coffee and walk right into the office and you get started. And then next thing you know, it's 3:00. You've forgotten to eat lunch. You haven't left the office and you're still working. So it is very much a 9-to-5 job, but you actually, I feel that you work a little bit more because you don't have your commute and you don't take an hour lunch. I don't think I've ever taken an hour lunch. You run downstairs, you get your food, you come back up and you eat it while you're on to the next project. While you have signs on the door, in particular, even right now for this podcast that says, do not open unless you're bleeding that's uncontrolled, or there's a fire that you can't put out. So if you are working from home, you're going to have to figure that out a little bit. But that's a typical day. You deal with that while dealing with what I just talked about, all the different fires that are coming in for the emergency pleadings and the different work and the different types of personalities. But if you're getting started, here's one tip that I think is so very, very important for anyone working from home or virtually. It's boundaries. Now, I wish somebody would have told me this originally.
With the family or with the clients or both?
Oh, well, both. But mostly with the clients. I do wish originally I would have laid out a little bit better that I am still 9 to 5, even though I am not physically at your office. I have received text messages as early as 5 a.m. Which wakes up. No, I don't think so. You are very good about that. But 5 o'clock in the morning, the text message goes off, which then wakes up the dog that has to go outside, then wakes up the kid, and now you're up, right? To text messages at 12:30 in the morning. So boundaries are very, very, very important. I think setting up the expectations with the client originally are so important. Then when I sit at my desk, and if you send me an email at 5 o'clock at 5:30, I'll get to it the next day, right? You're not expecting at 5:30 to have an answer within 5 minutes.
5:30 on a Friday, usually.
Yeah, pretty much.
Isn't it always the way?
It is. It is 5:30 on a Friday. Oh my gosh, I forgot something that's really important. Well, so boundaries are important, and they're also important for yourself. I also learned a long time ago through my mistakes, I took my email off my phone. Oh. Because even though you understand at 5:30 at night, I'm not going to answer that email. If you send it to me and then I think about it all night long, and then I probably answer it when I'm not supposed to, I have now ruined my own boundary, right? So I removed the email from my phone, so I only see it when I'm sitting in my office and I'm actually working. And I have found that has definitely been better for myself and my family.
Very good.
Yeah. And then boundaries for the kids, like I said before, they're kids. They're good kids, but I do have signs on the door that are quite entertaining. I usually make a new one each time I want them to stay out. They know my sarcasm by now, and I think they really would open the door if someone was bleeding. But so you have to factor all that in. That's the day in the life. Very
good. Janice, anything else you want to add before we wrap up our series on learning more about you and your business?
No, there's so much more to it. Like I said, I write blogs. You can ask me questions. I have a lot of people that ask questions. You can definitely reach out and ask. I wish anyone luck that's doing this. Anyone can do this. Don't be discouraged. Jump in. That's what I tell everyone. I made that jump on faith. I just jumped right in and I did it and I made it. It's been 5 years. So that's why I tell everyone, just do it.
Very good advice. Okay. You can learn more about Janice at her website, virtualparalegalpa.com. It also has links to all her social and her blog. And Janice, thanks again for sharing everything. And
thank you for having me. This was fun. This was really fun.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk again next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.